Welcome back to Copperhead Customs, and welcome to episode 4 of our flip car series. So far we've been doing pretty well. This one, we're heading to Salvage auction to go pick up. I'll give you one clue, and that is it's a baby little Euro car. So stick around to see what it is. Okay, we are back, and this is what we have just got this time. This is a Holden Tigra Convertible. It's actually made from the British, and it's called a Vauxhall Tigra. But over here it's sold as a Holden Tigra. So it's a little 1.8 Ecotec motor, which is probably the same motor that some of the Chevys run. I don't know if America has a little convertible version of one of yours, but it's a pretty jazzy little thing. I thought it would be a pretty easy car to move. So they come out manual only, and as you can see, it's got leather door cards and nice leather seats. It had a key, and you would have just seen, we put the pictures up a minute ago of what we get to view from the auction listing. As I've said previously, we are not allowed to go and view the cars in person. We can only go off of their few pretty ratty pictures. So it was listed as light impact on the front, which I've seen it had a little low impact down here on the bumper, and I thought nice easy fix. A little bit of clear coat here, a little crack here, a bit of paint flake there, easy peasy. We will paint the bumper. That was my plan. And I did notice this little one. If I can get in there, I can PDR it. This was not actually visible at all, or this. So I don't know if they're fresh or not, but they're not, neither here nor there. Bit of touch-up paint on there, it'd be okay. Remembering this is a cheap car. So if you're wondering what we paid, the winning bid was $525, so it was $730 out the door. And I did notice in one of the pictures last night that little ding there. So overall, looking at the car, it looked in pretty good condition. You would agree from the pictures, but in real life now, looking at it, it looks pretty good. It didn't look too banged up or scratched or anything, and it had the cool little wheels. I'd say they're factory, but it had those cool little wheels, and I thought it would be under 150,000 kilometers. I was hoping it would be close to 100 just by looking at it. Okay, so I'm not quite sure on the year. I'd have to check. I think it's an 07. We'll see if we can find the plate. Unknown kilometers is, I don't know if I explained that, but it had unknown kilometers in the listing because it had a flat battery. So it's a little bit of a, what's the word? bit of a grey area, that one, like, because, you know, why couldn't you put a jump pack on to find that pays out? But that's what they do, so whatever. What does it tell us on here? Anything? No, maybe over that one. Let's have a look on this plate. No, that doesn't tell us anyway. Anyway, I'll have to check. Here we go. Here it is here. It is a 05. It's an 05. There you go. So, any rate. Plan was repair the bumper. Should run hopefully around 150k. So, on the way home, we pumped a couple of tyres up and connected the battery pack at the service station. And it was 220, I think, kilometres on it, so that's a bit of a bummer. It's not too bad, like, it's still reasonable. We still don't know if the roof works at this stage, so I put the key in, cranked it over, it wouldn't start. It's weird. Petrol gauge was on empty, so I threw $30 of petrol in it, and I could smell the petrol pretty strong. Didn't think much, tried to start it, still wouldn't start. Battery jump pack was a bit weak. So anyway, I just thought, oh, maybe it's just a bit weak. Sometimes if the battery pack's a bit weak, they don't want to start. So we've come home and I've got it here, and it is really, really fumy. So I've looked under it. There's no fuel leaking, and I'm like, why is it so stinky? So we've hooked up the jumper to the little Swift over there. We had the jumper leads on, tried to start, nothing, and I'm smelling this fuel. And I'm like, I said to the wife, I've got a feeling the fuel pump's not working because I can't hear it on the way home. And I did notice in the auction listing, that panel there. Now I thought that might have been the panel that went in the back here. Didn't think of this though, did I? So some of you already know what's going on. So I've come back here and look at this. That is the fuel pump, and it is disconnected, and the hoses are off, and it's half out, and that other panel goes in here, and I'm not quite sure what this goes to. It looks as though this thing has done a fuel pump, but it wasn't listed as a mechanical issue. It was sold by the insurer, so I don't know how this can be sold as an impact car with a mechanical issue that obviously, I don't even know how the insurer can sell it when it's looking like that. So before we get too carried away pulling everything apart, we're going to go check the fuse. Maybe there's something else silly going on. But it's not the end of the world. They're about $100 to $150 approximately for a new one. I think I can get one from the wreckers for $80 if we want to go that road. They look like they're a little bit of a bear to get out, but before we go pulling it out, we need to go check the fuse first. Make sure that's not blown in case it's something stupid like that. But yeah, just this is why I've said in previous ones, you got to take the good with the bad. So, one, it's like it's always a gamble, but the kilometres are a lot higher than I was hoping. And two, now we've got this little fuel pump, which at the end of the day is not the end of the world. If it needs a $150 fuel pump, like I said, we paid $730 for the car. Any rate, so we'll go check the fuse. We might as well just stay on, hey, we'll stay on live. Fuse box is over here, and my research tells me that it is number 9, so I'm running blind on these as well. I've never had one of these before, and that looks different to the panel that I wanted, but that tells me that 9 is this one here. And where's the little tool? Over here. Just didn't know there's always normally a little tool in here to get this stuff out, if you can get it out of it. Okay, so that fought me. So we said the yellow 20 amp one was ours. No, I'm not getting it out that way. I'm having one of them days today, guys, so bear with me. Can't even get a fuse out. So we were trying to win. For those of you who have been around the channel for a while would remember I used to own a CLS Mercedes, and I sold it to our neighbour because he loved it, and it was one of my favourite cars that I've ever owned. I just loved it. It drove really nice, and there was one today at auction. and I tried to get it. It was an 08 CLS 350. It was what's the colour? Not silver, not gold, in between, like a bit of a bronzy colour. It was low-keyed, it was immaculate. It had a broken headlight and a little tiny bit of damage in the corner. Simple fixo, and I went pretty good on it. And yes, this other bloke just wanted it more. We were playing games. The auctions extend by 9 minutes. On this one, did every bid that's in the last 9 minutes, it will re-extend it 9 minutes. So we went about an hour over because he tried taking it to a minute and then bidding me up, and so I was doing it back to him, and then he was bidding quick and I was bidding quick, and then he was bidding slow and I was doing the same. And yeah, in the end I went a few over what I was wanting to do. So in the end we didn't get it. Like, I hummed and hard. I think the car was worth it. I still think the car was worth it, definitely worth it. So I took it up to $5,000 bid, which is about $1,000 fee, so about $6 grand out the door. That's what I took it up to, and I do honestly think the car was worth it. It's probably I don't know, maybe 15 to 18 grand car. But honestly, I didn't think I was going to sell it. I was probably going to keep it. So I hummed and hard, and at the end of the day, I said no. I'd rather go get an AMG. So we pulled the pin on it. So anyway, we now have to look at the fuel pump, removing that. So I suppose one bonus is it's already half removed. So they obviously have this cover, flips out, then they have the locking ring, then we get to the top of the fuel pump, and as you can see, it has a electrical connector and 2 hoses. Now we've now got to get under there and undo these wires and undo those 2 hoses that are on it. So they're actually clamped on. We should better get them off pretty easy, and then we can look at getting the bottom part of the fuel pump out, which now has $30 of petrol in it. Okay, so there it is there. Now inside the tank, so you can see that brown piece in the tank there. So on there's a couple of little lever arm type things, and when you pull them, this just pops up and out. So it was pretty simple once I worked it out. Now this actually looks fairly new. So I'm going to actually hook up some power to this. They get a couple of jump wires and just see. So what I have noticed is, I don't know if you can see that there or not, but there's a little, that little wire just there. And that's like the earth, I think, and it's not connected to anything on one end. So I'm wondering if it's something stupid like that. So anyway, we'll power this up and see if we get this to work at all. If so, it just makes no sense why this is half like this. So at any rate, let's have a little fiddle, see if we get this to work. If not, we'll just get a new filter. We'll somehow seal this up so we don't blow it up, and we'll have to unload it somewhere. Okay, so we've set this up. We've got our positive and negative connected to the little Swift battery. We've got the negative in, and here's our positive, and the pump works. So we do not have to go and buy a pump. So what does that mean now? Well, it means it's either one, that earth wire, that black wire that I was saying, or two, we've checked the fuse, but it could be the fuel pump relay is not working. So it could be that. So definitely got the fuel pump works. So what we'll do next is we'll put that back in. We'll try to work out where that earth wire, other end of that goes. We'll get all that connected. Then I think we'll hook all the battery back up and get the fuel pump key going and see if we can get a test light, see if we're getting power back here. Because if we're not, then I would say it's the fuel pump relay. So whether we can nick one out of something else or to just get the fuel pump working. So maybe a simple little fix. So let's keep motoring. Okay, so we're just doing some tests on the relay. So if you can see the relay there, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but hopefully you can. Some light. We have, this pin is called 85, this pin here is 86, this pin is 30, and this is 87. Okay, now if we put power to 85, 86, we should hear a click. And if you can hear that, it works. So if we leave it on 86 and try the others, nothing. But on there it does, see, and then we go the other way. So that's the relay clicking in. So that means that's one test for the relay. So another test is if we put our multimeter, I'm trying to rig this up so you can see it all. So if we get our multimeter here on the ohms, that beeping is just our jump pack because it's not very happy. So we put our multimeter on ohms, and if we come across those same two pins, 85, 86, now sometimes 85 and 86 is across here, but they're labelled. So 85 to 86, I'm pretty sure they're the two, should give us a resistance. And as you can see there, it's giving us a resistance of 66. Now you want a resistance between 50 and 200. So that tells us that. And on the other ways, you can see nothing, no resistance any other way. Okay, so that tells us, as far as we can tell, with two different tests, that that relay there is fine. So what we have done, I'll pull you back now, we'll turn that off, move the multimeter. So what we have done is, from my research is telling me that we have two modules here. This one here is the fuel pump module, and this one is for the engine management, from what I can tell. Then we have three different fuses. Fuse number 9 is the fuel pump fuse, which is, I think, that one there, that 20 amp, which is fine. Fuse 46, which I think's that 20 amp there. Might be that 30 amp. One of them anyway is for the engine control module, and it's fine. And then there's another fuse, which I think only happens, is ignited when we are cranking or running. But I've pulled it and it is fine. So the only thing left to do is to check this relay. And I'm pretty sure we've already done a multimeter test on it and it was fine. We just need to do a click test on it. And then we've got issues, because that will tell us, I think, that all our fuses are good and all of our relays seem to be good. So now we've got a bit of dilemma. So I honestly think maybe our ECU is no good. So we've got one more thing we can check on, that is to just check the connections pushing in. And I suppose what we can do is check when we're cranking the car, if we're, or even prime, like ignition on, if we get an initial signal to this relay block, not to the relay but to the actual block, if we get a signal coming with the test lamp. So that's our only other check we can do. Otherwise I think our ECU is stuffed up, and that means, I think for us, that this car might be heading down the road to the parts, wreckers, breakers, whatever you want, guys, call them in your country. So we'll do a couple more quick tests. We'll come back and see. Okay, well, we had no success. All the relays checked out, all the fuses checked out, and we're getting no signal from the ECU to the relays when we turn the key, so we're getting no power back to the pump. So my research is telling me that there is a problem with the ECU that could be sent off and fixed somewhere. I know overseas there's multiple places that do them for very cheap, but I haven't found any way here to do them. The only way out of it would be to go and get a new ECU from the wreckers, a BCM, I think an immobilizer module, a new ignition and key, I think the dashboard, and then you really need to change the door lock, so you got a matching key. So it's a fairly big job, and no guarantees it will work either, but should work then. But there's only one of these in the wrecking yards local, and as I said, it didn't have the key, so if I was to buy all that, I'd then have to go get a key cut, and we're all starting to allude to all weird stuff. And then when it comes to sell it, the kilometers on the dash will be the other car's kilometers, and then it's a whole nother can of worms that you have to open up, because one thing we do here is we have to sign a form saying that we haven't messed with the kilometers. So then you'd have to be saying, oh, it's got this amount of k's, but really it's got this amount of k's, and it's just all a load of malarkey. So we've got a failure. So what we've done is I've quickly just now posted an ad on the Facebook of the marketplace, and we will see. I've put it up for $1,000 as is. Fuel pump issue, don't know what the problem is, today only, so we'll see if we get any takers on it or not. The ad says tomorrow it goes to the wreckers, so that's what we will do. If we get no takers by late this afternoon, I'll reverse the trailer down, load it on the trailer, and tomorrow we will take it for a little drive to the wrecking yard. And as stated, he said he'd pay me $6.50 for it, so we will take an $80 hit plus a bit of petrol to pick it up originally. So as stated earlier, said it a few times, they're all a gamble. You just had the good with the bad and roll with it. So this one is a bad, you just have to say. Now, could we get out of jail with? Well, we could potentially stuff around and, like I've said, and try to fix it, but by the time we spend all that money, you know, it's not really worth it. I think this one, we're just best to chalk it up as a cross in the column, as opposed to throwing more money at it and on the chance that we could break even, you know. So we've had some good ones. This is a bad one. Just to show you, see, we'll be transparent here. We will show you the duds as well. So anyway, okay, so we're still trying. We were about to give up, but I'm still trying. So we have been talking to as I said, a little electrical programming guru, and he's told me everything to check, all the relays, all these different fuses. He just told me some other ones to check, and everything is checking out good. Now what we have is, if I can remember this, on the relay, pin 30, which is this one on the one on the left, pin 30, and pin 86, pin 30 and pin 86 should have 12 volts to them. Okay, and then when the ignition comes on, pin 85 should have 12 volts to it. Okay, now this one here is the fuel pump relay, and this one here is from the ECU, I think, the ECU relay. So what I found out was that this one, the ECU one, has the 12 volts at the 30 and the 86, but it's not triggering over to 85. So we did a bridge, as you see, we did a wire bridge from 86 to 85. Now when I did that bridge, so before we did the bridge, we only had 12 volts at the pin 30, nothing at the 86. But when I put that bridge on, we then, over on the fuel pump relay, had our 12 volts at 30 and 12 volts at 86. Still didn't fire the pump. But then when we did a bridge from 85 to, I'm getting confused now, 85 to, from 30 to 87, sorry, 30 to 87, that is. That's 87, that's 30. So when we did the same bridge here, 30 to 87, we then have the pump working. So what it says is, what this says is, the ECU triggers with the ignition on, which triggers that relay, which then fires the other relay up, or something like that. Anyway, that relay there has to trigger before this relay can trigger, and then the ignition will trigger this relay to tell the fuel pump to turn on. Something along those lines. Anyway, it's not happening. But when we did the two bridges, as in we told it all that the two relays are doing what they're meant to do, it then fires up the fuel pump. But seeing we've had the fuel pump in and out 400 times, we did have an issue, another issue which we haven't rectified yet, and that is that we still didn't get fuel up to here, because I took the Schrader valve cap off and pressed on the Schrader valve on the fuel rail, and no fuel up here as yet. But when I went back and listened to the fuel pump working, it was bubbling away in there. So either it's popped a hose, or a hose isn't connected properly, or I connected the hoses the wrong way around, because we didn't pull it apart. So I just put them where I thought they went. They might be back to front. So anyway, it sounds like it's blowing bubbles in the tank. So what am I getting at? It may not be the ECU yet, so we're not going to give up just yet. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my scan tool on. I've got a pretty good launch scan tool, non-sponsored, 431 Pro or something. It was pretty expensive, $3,000 or $4,000. So we're going to plug that one in now and see what the car thinks of that scan tool. I also have a Holden specific scan tool called a Tech 2, but it's a bit temperamental and doesn't like working sometimes, which I think will do anything on this car. That will, because they're all saying an OBSON or OBSCAN or something, I don't know, some generic voxel scanner. So anyway, I think our Tech 2 will do it, but it's very temperamental. It does 99% of the time it doesn't work. It's got a bad wire or something. So we'll try our scan tool and see, because the latest bit of info is, now I haven't told anyone, this person, that this car was in a little accident, but he said if the car is in a little accident, the ECU sometimes triggers something like a fail-safe thing and shuts the fuel off, that it won't work. No matter what we do, we can't get it to work. So we may just need to clear a code. Wouldn't that be ridiculous? Or also something to do with the crank angle sensor, something to do with that the ECU triggers the crank angle sensor or something, I don't know. But so we'll check the code to see if it could be that freaking simple. But in the meantime, what I did was, we beetle on over the other side over here. What I have also checked is that the roof works. But yes, we had the roof working. What you have to do is, in the boot here, see if this will open, I'll show you. So you've got to press and hold the button and the boot will open. Okay, like this pretty little tricky thing, isn't it? So there's a switch inside, but this one seems to work better. Now, I actually put all the fuel pump and stuff back in and covered it up, but this is the little cover that was inside the car. And when you're driving around with the roof down, you would slide this up and it clips up there and hides all of that malarkey, okay? So when you want the roof to work, you have to pull it back into this position. Does that make sense? So if we release this and that one, then that will slide up there and it will sit up flush like that, okay? When we want the roof to work, we open the boot, we go bang bang with that, and then we close the boot. So I did this and it wasn't working. I thought, oh, the roof doesn't work. Then I did some research. Sometimes it pays to do a bit of research. So you do that till the lights flash. Then you come in. So that's closed, that's ready now. Come in here, there's a little clip here, one on the other side. Release the two clips. Obviously they have a sensor switch, micro switch I think you call them, in them. So once they're released, then you press the button and boom. So then the boot folds up like this, and another panel kicks up somewhere, and then the roof goes in there, and then the bonnet closes. So the roof works. So there's a good sign. So what I wanted to show you is, as I put the car up on the Facebook of the marketplace for sale, and it's been doing my head in, and you people probably will know something about this if you've ever tried to sell anything on here. So the ad I put up was pretty self-explanatory. It said that it's a Holden Tigra Convertible, roof works. In the end I changed it and actually said, read the ad, roof works, has a fuel pump issue, will need to be towed, $1,000 firm, needs to go today, tomorrow it goes to the wreckers. And I put the location of where the car is. So I've said it has to be towed. I've told them the kilometres, the year, manual, has a fuel pump issue, $1,000 firm. Okay, pretty simple. So here on my phone, these are all people from today's thing from there. So we have had 5, 6, 7 people. 7 people have said, is this available? I've given them a thumbs up. And also the ad says, don't say, is this available, in the end. 7 people did that, then haven't read my reply. Every other person has either offered me 300, 500, asked where the car is, asked, will it drive home, says, asked, so mechanically it's perfect, has it got a roadworthy, is it registered, all this. Like, you serious? Someone even asked me to diagnose the issues with it. So, I don't know if you guys get that when you try to sell stuff. Oh yeah, someone was pretty keen on it. Then he asked me how far it is from his suburb to my suburb after I told him where it is. I'm pretty sure everyone has this little pocket computer in their hand called a phone, and you can go onto your phone in 2 seconds on Google Maps and type in my suburb, type in your suburb, and it'll tell you exactly how to get there. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that has all this high-tech equipment. And by the time that they take to write a message to me to ask me how far it is from my house to their house, it would have been quicker for them to look it up themselves. Society is very, very needy in this generation. I don't know what has happened. They do not read anything. They ask stupid questions, and it is very, very painful to try to sell stuff in this day and age with all these numpties out there. So anyway, with all of that said, there's my little whinge about the Facebook of the marketplace people. Let's connect the scan tool and see what codes we have. Okay, so that was a big ba-boom. Neither of the 2 scanners. So I've got a pretty good scanner. It deals with all the Mercs and the Beamers and does all that high-end stuff really well. I can do anything, program keys, all sorts of stuff. And it wouldn't find the VIN. I had to manually enter it. It did have the car in there under Holden, but it would not communicate. So I got the Tech 2 out. The Tech 2 was working. So the Tech 2, so we went through the exact same list with the car. Wouldn't communicate. So I don't know why they wouldn't communicate with the car, but I think that's me done with this thing, guys. I think we were just going to send it off and take that little tiny hit. We could keep stuffing around with it, but like I said, I do not want to throw money into this one, so I think I'll just put everything back on quickly, and yeah, we'll be back in a sec. So as you can see, it's on the trailer. What does that mean? It means it beat us. That's right. So the issue is the ECU. We have no power going to the OB2 port, which indicates again that it is an ECU problem. So to fix that, it is new ECU, BCM key, door locks, immobilizer, which I cannot source here, and I don't really want to invest that money on a gamble. So this one beat us. So we are sending this down the road to the wrecking yard, and we will take a tiny little hit on this one. They're only going to give us $650. That's the best deal I could get anywhere. Owed us what, $730, so we're going to take a little hit, $80 plus some fuel. So like I said, he's had the good and the bad. So this one is a big chalk down into the loss, but we've had a couple of good wins recently. So with all that said, there you go. We're going to show you the good and the bad. Next week's one is a Perla, very highly damaged car that you will want to see the transformation on. And until then, I will say thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.
Swagger down the street with your red lips and funky beat. You better hold your head up to the sky. I'm gonna roll with you till the day I die.